The extraordinary sight of sperm whales fast asleep off the Caribbean island of Dominica, but it is the wonder of their language that scientists are getting really excited about. These two whales are taking turns to communicate in rapid bursts of clicks.
Humanity has spent decades searching the cosmos for intelligent life, building giant telescopes and listening for signals from distant stars. Yet, a growing body of research suggests the most unsettling possibility may be much closer. Deep beneath the ocean surface, scientists are beginning to suspect that whales may possess a structured language far more complex than anyone once believed. Now, artificial intelligence is analyzing their mysterious clicks and rhythms, revealing patterns that resemble grammar and cultural exchange. If confirmed, it would challenge humanity's long-held assumption that we are Earth's only advanced communicators. The implications are profound and deeply unsettling indeed. The ocean's forgotten Cold War. For centuries, humanity engaged in the relentless slaughter of the ocean giants, completely deaf to the desperate screams echoing beneath the waves. We harvested their bodies for oil to light our street lamps, oblivious to the fact that we were dismantling deeply complex societies. The sounds they made were dismissed as nothing more than empty background noise, the meaningless biological static of mindless sea beasts. Think about that for a second. We spent hundreds of years ravaging the seas, firmly believing we were the only conscious actors on the planetary stage, failing to realize that a sophisticated civilization was actively communicating right beneath our ships. The arrogance of the industrial age blinded us to a profound truth that would only begin to surface through the sheer paranoia of global conflict. It took the darkest anxieties of the human race to finally tune our ears to a frequency we had ignored since the dawn of our species. The story of how we finally heard them does not begin with peaceful marine biologists studying nature, but rather in the tense waters off the coast of Bermuda at the dawn of the Cold War. The date was March 7, 1949. The United States Office of Naval Research had deployed the research vessel Atlantis to conduct highly classified acoustic experiments. They were hunting the ocean depths, testing new sonar systems and measuring underwater explosives in a bid to track Soviet submarines. During these covert operations, the hydrophones captured something completely inexplicable. The recording was etched onto a fragile gray autograph disc, a primitive medium that captured a haunting resonance rising from the abyss. The scientists aboard the Atlantis were baffled. They possessed no conceptual framework to understand what they had intercepted. To the military minds of the era, it was just an anomaly. They cataloged the disc and moved on, unaware they had captured the first preserved recording of a non-human language. It would take another 17 years and a massive escalation in geopolitical tension for the puzzle pieces to finally align. By 1966, the Cold War had transformed the oceans into a silent battlefield. Frank Watlington, a dedicated Navy engineer, was stationed at a top-secret hydrophone facility anchored deep off the Bermudan coast. His sole directive was to listen for the faint hum of Russian nuclear submarines attempting to slip past American defenses. Day after day, Watlington sat in isolation, analyzing the acoustic landscape of the Atlantic. But instead of Soviet engines, he began to record eerie, sweeping moans that seemed to vibrate with a deliberate intensity. You might assume he immediately recognized the historical significance of these sounds. Instead, these echoing vocalizations were initially classified as a potential threat. The military apparatus was geared entirely for destruction, utterly unprepared to interpret the profound beauty radiating through their surveillance grids. Watlington eventually realized these signals were biological, and he made the fateful decision to share his classified recordings with Roger Payne, a researcher who had previously studied the echolocation of bats and owls. Payne listened to the tapes and experienced a revelation that would alter biological science forever. He realized with absolute clarity that these were not random animal noises. Along with mathematician Hella McVeigh, Payne subjected the recordings to rigorous analysis and discovered that the vocalizations followed intricate, mathematically precise repeating patterns. They were structured exactly like stanzas in human poetry, featuring distinct rhythms that looped and evolved. The irony is staggering. The United States Navy, pouring millions of dollars into acoustic networks to prepare for a Third World War, had accidentally uncovered the oldest continuous symphony on Earth. They built a machine to listen for the end of the world, and instead, they heard the ancient songs of the deep. This realization shattered the scientific consensus of the 20th century. In 1970, Payne released these recordings to the public as a commercial album titled Songs of the Humpback Whale. It became a massive cultural watershed, infiltrating the collective consciousness of a generation. But the true paradigm shift came from the scientific data hidden within those tracks. Observation proved that these songs were not static instincts. They were dynamic and evolving. All the males in a specific ocean basin would adopt the exact same complex song, and together they would collectively change the melody from year to year. This was a bombshell discovery. It provided the absolute first concrete evidence of non-human culture, a shared social legacy passed down through generations. These animals were not just surviving, they were composing and sharing a collective history spanning across thousands of miles of open ocean. The public reaction was visceral, transforming a profound scientific revelation into a ferocious global conservation movement. People realized that these overlooked giants were not resources to be harvested, but singers possessing a shared cultural identity. This massive empathetic shift directly forced the passage of the 1972 Marine Mammal Protection Act. By 1977, the Voyager Golden Record launched, forever shifting whales from mere commodities to intelligent entities speaking for our planet among the stars. The alien in our oceans. We spend billions of dollars pointing massive radio telescopes at the dead silence of deep space, hoping to catch a stray signal from a distant star. We are obsessed with finding an intelligence greater than our own, convinced that the ultimate revelation of the cosmos lies light years away. Consider the sheer arrogance of that assumption. What if the highly intelligent, alien mind we have been desperately searching for in the freezing void of space has been hiding right here, submerged in the high-pressure abyss of our own planet? The terrifying reality is that we have been sharing Earth with an intellect that predates human civilization by millions of years, and only now do we possess the terrifyingly advanced technology required to actually comprehend them. Consider the profound weight of this reality. We are standing on the precipice of a genuine interspecies dialogue, a breakthrough that completely obliterates our self-appointed status as the only complex communicators on this pale blue dot. This realization fundamentally birthed a new era of radical scientific intrusion. In the year 2020, marine biologist David Gruber launched Project SETI, a massive interdisciplinary initiative operating off the steep volcanic drop-offs of the Caribbean island of Dominica. This is not passive observation. This represents a complete paradigm shift, transitioning from merely watching animals to deploying a militaristic surveillance grid designed for active, cryptographic decoding. The waters surrounding Dominica plunge instantly into the deep ocean, providing unprecedented, immediate access to a stable population of sperm whales. To unlock their secrets, researchers have constructed an invisible, underwater recording studio across the seafloor, utilizing a grid of hydrophones that capture every single pulse of sound these creatures emit. But capturing ambient sound was not enough for the researchers at Project SETI. To truly understand the context of this hidden language, they required physical proximity, leading to the deployment of a terrifyingly advanced suite of non-invasive robotic tools. Imagine the precision required to attach a tracking device to a 50-ton predator without causing distress. Harvard engineers developed soft robotic biologgers that cling to the skin of the whales using gentle suction cups inspired by the unique anatomy of the clingfish. These devices act as parasitic hard drives, recording 3-channel synchronized audio, heart rates, depth, and 3-axis physical movement. Above the water, tap-and-go drones swarm the ocean surface. These flying machines do not rely on human pilots. Instead, they utilize the whale's own echolocation clicks to autonomously guide their flight patterns and tagging maneuvers. Below the waves, autonomous underwater gliders act as silent, backseat drivers. These drone submarines are equipped with highly sensitive hydrophones and can autonomously track specific mother and calf pairs for multiple days, stalking them over hundreds of kilometers of open ocean. To comprehend the sheer scale of the data being collected by this surveillance grid, you must first understand the brutal biomechanics of how these leviathans actually speak. When you speak, you force air over vocal cords to create sound. Sperm whales do not possess vocal cords. They operate under a radically different mechanism known as the source filter theory, adapted perfectly for the crushing pressure of the deep ocean. When these creatures plunge thousands of feet into total blackness to hunt massive squid, they enter an alien environment that would instantly crush a human submarine. To produce their rapid-fire clicks, a sperm whale pushes air through complex nasal passages and over specialized valve-like structures called phonic lips. Because they must vocalize continuously during deep, high-pressure foraging dives, they cannot afford to exhale. Instead, they recycle this air through a massive U-shaped ridge of tissue. The raw sound generated by these phonic lips then travels forward through the melon. The melon is an enormous, fatty organ taking up a massive portion of the whale's forehead, acting as a highly focused acoustic lens. This structure filters and directs the sonic energy, allowing the whale to dynamically modulate frequency bands to produce specific, vowel-like spectral patterns. They are not just making noise. They are wielding a physiological acoustic weapon of immense computational power. The neurological reality of the sperm whale is staggering to consider. Their auditory system is exceptionally developed, featuring dense ear ossicles capable of detecting ultra-high frequencies extending well beyond 30 kHz. This extreme biological sensitivity is absolutely critical because their language relies on microscopic variations in spectral energy and timing that human ears are completely incapable of perceiving naturally. To process this torrential flood of acoustic data, evolution equipped them with the largest brain in the known universe. This is not a brain built for basic survival. It is an advanced organ tuned for continuous linguistic computation. That massive neurological architecture is largely dedicated to acoustic processing and maintaining a level of social and behavioral complexity that genuinely rivals human societies. We are attempting to hack into a biological supercomputer, a sentient network processing a reality built entirely of sound, and the things we are beginning to hear will fundamentally change our understanding of intelligence forever. Deciphering the ancient ocean alphabet. This is the exact moment where theoretical mystery finally hardens into raw, undeniable data. For decades, researchers assumed that the rapid sequences of clicks echoing through the dark waters, known to biologists as codas, were nothing more than simple identifiers. They were completely dismissed as a primitive biological Morse code. Rudimentary signals meant only to broadcast a basic location or a simple name tag. But the deployment of advanced artificial intelligence against a massive database of over 9,000 meticulously recorded codas from the Dominica project completely shattered that reductive assumption. The supercomputers revealed something far more terrifying and profound. They exposed a highly complex combinatorial language built upon 4 foundational pillars of acoustic structure. These pillars are rhythm, tempo, rubato, and ornamentation. Rhythm dictates the bass spacing of the clicks, establishing the core identity of the transmission. Tempo controls the total duration of the sequence, effectively stretching or compressing the acoustic package. Rubato is perhaps the most astonishing, involving the gradual, deliberate modulation of timing across an entire exchange of consecutive codas, adding deep emotional nuance and complex social context. Finally, ornamentation acts as an intricate acoustic suffix, attaching extra clicks to the very end of a sequence to modify the core meaning of the signal entirely. This is absolutely not basic animal signaling. This is a modular grammatical system allowing these leviathans to convey highly specific, hyper-targeted information by endlessly combining discrete parameters into a massive vocabulary. To truly comprehend the staggering complexity of this linguistic architecture, we must turn to the groundbreaking research led by Gaspar Begas at the University of California, Berkeley. Begas recognized a fundamental flaw in how humanity had been listening to these ocean titans. Our brains simply do not process acoustic information at the same neurological speed as a sperm whale. To bridge this vast evolutionary gap, his team performed a radical acoustic manipulation. They took the deep ocean audio, completely stripped away the microseconds of silence between each individual click, and drastically sped up the resulting sound files. They artificially compressed the whale language to perfectly match the neurological processing speeds of human hearing. The results of this acoustic compression were absolutely paradigm-shifting. When fed through generative adversarial networks and converted into visual spectrograms, the data revealed something that mainstream biology would have previously declared impossible. They discovered formants. In human speech, formants are the exact stable frequency bands that our vocal tracts shape to produce distinct sounds. Begas and his team found these exact same stable frequency bands buried deep within the high-speed clicks of the sperm whale. Specifically, the artificial intelligence identified 2 recurrent, discrete acoustic patterns that the researchers labeled as the A coda and the I coda. The coda exhibits a single, dense low formant that roughly matches the exact spectral density of the human sound. The I coda features 2 separated frequency bands that perfectly mirror the human I sound. You might assume the researchers had simply lost their minds, projecting human traits onto random ocean noise due to sheer exhaustion. But the visual spectrograms provide undeniable, irrefutable proof. The data does not lie. The frequency fingerprints are clearly visible, systematically controlled, and completely intentional. But the revelation deepens significantly. The algorithms identified highly complex diphthongal patterns hidden within these acoustic structures. In linguistics, a diphthong occurs when a sound glides from one vowel quality to another within a single syllable. The whales are executing these exact gliding frequency trajectories within a single coda. Crucially, researchers definitively proved that these complex trajectories are entirely independent of the physical movement or the diving depth of the animal. This completely destroys the argument that the sounds are just a byproduct of changing ocean pressure. It proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that the whales are actively, intentionally, and masterfully controlling their biological articulators to manipulate sound waves. Furthermore, the staggering acoustic data revealed a fascinating linguistic phenomenon universally known to scientists as co-articulation. In human conversation, we do not speak in perfectly isolated robotic bursts of sound. We blend the edges of our words together for maximum efficiency. The whales are doing the exact same thing. The edge clicks at the beginning and the very end of a specific coda organically blend and match the distinct spectral quality of the adjacent coda. They are seamlessly weaving their signals together to maintain a fluid, continuous, and highly efficient dialogue in the dark. This represents the absolute most complex non-human phonology ever discovered in the entire history of biological science. We are looking at a fully realized grammatical communication network. Right now, dedicated teams of researchers are actively tracking isolated newborn calves across the vast expanses of the Atlantic Ocean, watching in real time as these young minds struggle to master the rhythmic nuances of this ancient cultural code. We are witnessing the beautiful intergenerational transmission of a vast oceanic knowledge base, a powerful legacy passed down through the dark waters long before humanity ever existed on land. This is pure, undeniable proof of a massive, hidden terrestrial intelligence. Whispering back into the abyss. We are now standing at the absolute threshold of the greatest scientific unknown in human history, the perilous edge of first contact. The massive volume of data we have extracted from the deep ocean reveals an intricate, highly structured architecture of whale culture that genuinely rivals our own social complexities. These creatures do not simply wander the vast oceans aimlessly. They belong to highly specific clans, massive extended families bound together by rigid, distinctly recognizable dialects. Just as human languages evolve hyperspecific regional accents, these oceanic clans utilize highly calculated variations in their click repertoires to draw definitive lines in the water between us and them. It functions as a complex biological password system, an ancient cultural identifier passed down through countless generations that firmly dictates who belongs to the core family unit and who is considered a roaming stranger. To truly grasp the profound depth of these hidden social bonds, we must analyze the staggering events documented on July 8, 2023, just off the steep volcanic coast of Dominica. Researchers actively monitoring a highly specific family group known as Unit A witnessed something almost entirely unheard of outside human or terrestrial primate societies, a fully collaborative, multi-generational birth. For 34 intense minutes, 11 massive whales formed a tight, impenetrable protective cluster around a laboring mother. This was absolutely not a passive gathering of curious bystanders. The submerged acoustic sensors recorded a massive flurry of dynamic, highly coordinated activity, capturing their click sequences rapidly shifting and adapting in real time as the intense labor naturally progressed. They were actively communicating, tightly coordinating their physical movements, and providing profound emotional support during one of the most vulnerable moments in their lives. The resulting data showed that whales from entirely different pods even arrived on the scene to actively assist the distressed mother. They used their complex mathematical language to navigate a profound shared experience, broadcasting history and actively coordinating vital support across the freezing dark waters. This undeniable proof of emotional depth perfectly sets the stage for the absolutely monumental milestones achieved later that exact same year. In 2023, the impenetrable wall between human and non-human communication finally began to fracture. The very first massive breakthrough occurred in the freezing waters of Alaska with the whale SETI team, a dedicated sister initiative primarily focused on decoding humpback whales. Researchers purposefully broadcasted a recorded contact call through a submerged underwater speaker, hoping for a basic behavioral response. Instead, they received an actual conversation. A massive humpback named Twain actively approached the research vessel, slowly circled the boat, and engaged in a continuous 20-minute back-and-forth acoustic exchange. Twain actively listened to the broadcast artificial signals and perfectly matched the subtle interval variations in a highly conversational style, directly responding to the stunned humans with deliberate, calculated acoustic symmetry. Several months later, Project SETI achieved an equally historic paradigm-shifting interaction with a wild sperm whale swimming in the warm Caribbean. A human diver descended deep into the abyss and played a highly specific, mathematically structured coda sequence. A nearby leviathan actively listened, rapidly processed the alien sequence, and responded directly by flawlessly echoing the exact same acoustic structure straight back to the tiny diver. These were definitely not random, accidental encounters. They were completely intentional, fully reciprocal exchanges, proving beyond any reasonable shadow of a doubt that these massive, ancient entities are fully capable of recognizing human-generated signals and are actively willing to engage with us. But simply recognizing a broadcasted signal is only the absolute beginning of this terrifying journey. Humanity has now forcefully pried open the ultimate Pandora box of interspecies communication. To facilitate true dialogue, brilliant engineers and cryptographers have developed a terrifyingly powerful technological tool officially known as the Whale Acoustics Model, or WHAM. This is absolutely not a simple playback device used by marine biologists in the past. It is a highly advanced, complex transformer-based artificial intelligence system trained on 10,000 individual recordings of deep ocean codas. WHAM is a remarkably powerful generative model, fully capable of synthesizing completely artificial, realistic sperm whale vocalizations entirely from scratch. It can take any basic audio prompt, a sharp, loud digital beep, a musical note, or a clearly spoken human voice, and mathematically translate it into the exact acoustic style of a sperm whale click sequence. The precision of this artificial intelligence is genuinely staggering to comprehend. In strictly controlled blind audio tests, the absolute top-tier marine biologists and bioacoustics experts were completely unable to distinguish the synthetic codas generated by the machine from the real recordings captured in the wild ocean. The neural network has perfectly captured the fundamental mathematical essence of their ancient phonetics. Just think about the massive implications of this specific technological leap. We are no longer just listening passively to the echoes of the deep sea. We have successfully built a fully functioning underwater chatbot, a synthetic translator capable of formulating original messages and whispering back into the freezing abyss in their exact, beautiful native tongue. The Magna Carta of cetaceans. We must confront the terrifying, world-altering implications of the technological beast we have unleashed into the ocean. Humanity has historically proven that with the power to speak inevitably comes the devastating power to manipulate, control, and destroy. We are standing on the absolute precipice of a new era defined by non-human animal communication technology, and the severe risks of an unregulated acoustic frontier are genuinely horrifying to comprehend. Imagine the absolute psychological devastation of a grieving, highly social whale family subjected to the artificially synthesized, ghostly voice of a long-dead relative broadcasting from a hidden underwater speaker. This is absolutely not science fiction. It is a current technological capability right now. Unregulated commercialization or covert military application could easily lead to the ruthless weaponization of these deeply emotional calls, fracturing ancient social structures and leading vulnerable individuals astray into dangerous waters. Are we looking directly at a grim future where communication technology could be ruthlessly weaponized to manipulate, track, or exert total mass surveillance over entire animal populations, completely disrupting their cooperative hunting methods and vital mating activities? To specifically address this impending ethical catastrophe, the More Than Human Life program at New York University, working alongside Project SETI, hastily unveiled the PEPI framework, which officially stands for Prepare, Engage, Prevent, and Protect. This acts as our only fragile ethical guardrail against total ecological exploitation. It desperately urges ambitious scientists to strongly ground their research in rigorous ethical governance, carefully consult with indigenous knowledge holders who possess deep relational ties to these massive animals, and take extreme precautionary measures to avoid introducing unfamiliar sounds that could cause widespread fear or devastating social disorientation. It strictly demands that we protect and firmly center the autonomy of the animals far above our own endless scientific curiosity. Yet, this noble framework currently remains entirely voluntary, a mere polite suggestion facing an incoming technological tidal wave. This profound discovery forcefully triggers a much larger, radical legal reckoning that global society is completely unprepared to handle. Brilliant legal scholars are currently exploring a revolutionary concept known formally as the Magna Carta Cetacea. If we now possess undeniable empirical proof that these incredible leviathans wield highly complex grammatical language, transmit ancient cultural traditions, and share intricate generational histories, the entire foundation of strict human exceptionalism is officially exposed as a comforting, arrogant lie. For centuries, our legal systems have been rigidly built on the strict assumption that humans are the absolute only conscious, communicative subjects living on this planet, while everything else is merely a resource or simple property. That anthropocentric hierarchy has been permanently shattered by the rhythmic clicks echoing off the steep coast of Dominica. If they can communicate their complex social rules and deep personal preferences, they are no longer just animals. They are non-human persons deserving of fundamental, undeniable legal rights on a global scale. This radical shift in perspective entirely transforms how we must immediately view our industrial impact on the oceans. The constant, deafening roar of global commercial shipping engines and the brutal, concussive shockwaves of deep-sea seismic blasts can absolutely no longer be dismissed as mere environmental irritants or the unfortunate cost of doing modern business. Under this bold, new legal paradigm, flooding their ancient home with deafening mechanical noise is legally recognized as a direct form of physical and psychological acoustic violence committed against a sentient, legally protected being. It is the terrifying equivalent of systematically deafening a vibrant, fully functioning underwater society. The intense scientific study of complex sperm whale communication is vastly more than a simple, isolated endeavor within the field of marine biology. It is humanity rehearsing for the absolute inevitable. Decoding the deep ocean is our absolute best preparation for the eventual, world-shattering encounter with extraterrestrial intelligence dwelling among the distant stars. The highly advanced computational tools and robust artificial intelligence algorithms currently being rapidly developed to decipher the rhythmic, clicking codes of the Caribbean provide the exact vital blueprint we possess for safely handling first contact with completely alien minds that naturally exist in entirely different sensory and physical realities. We have now spent decades gazing upward at the cold, silent expanse of space, desperately searching for any sign of a cosmic neighbor, completely failing to realize that the highly intelligent entities we desperately sought have been swimming right alongside us for millions of years. The impenetrable wall separating human beings from the other brilliant minds on this planet is finally collapsing around us. Listening to the deep has become the ultimate act of profound humility, ushering in a radically different future where we must accept our shared existence. We have decoded the ancient language of the dark abyss, and we are fundamentally, undeniably, and terrifyingly no longer alone.